members of the Cabinet and of the Congress, and our partners from the House of Representatives, and my fellow senators, and to the more than 500, I guess now more than 600 friends and neighbors from back home who are here on the floor and in the gallery of the Senate, and thanks to the Speaker, also in the gallery of the House of Representatives. Thank you for lifting me up on your shoulders and bringing me and my family to this place on this day. This is your day. This is your victory. Thank you very much. I realize that about half the people from Northwest Florida are here just to make sure this is really real. And Governor, I have to give you a word of caution. When folks from the Panhandle take over something, like they've been virtually invaded and taken over the Capitol today, they may not give it back. The video from my family, perhaps that's our audition for reality TV, the real Gaetzes of Okaloosa County. Although I did notice that about halfway through the video, my mother-in-law was on her feet offering to do the rebuttal. She will definitely not be heard from today. I do have a North Star, a lodestone, a compass that always bears true. She is the rock of our family. She is the inspiration of my life. She is my life. She is the woman I love, Vicki Gaetz. And because of her, we have two children who are the pride of our lives, our daughter Erin and our son Matt. Senator Thrasher, Senator Negron, thank you for your eloquence, your generosity, and your selective memory. I just want to say for the record that I never want to be on the other side of Senator Thrasher again. Now, whatever he's for, I'm for. And Senator Ulrich, you and I came in together as freshmen. You were the first to offer me your support, as you said this morning. My friend and my partner, thank you for moving to close the nominations. Senator Ulrich, Senator Storms, and I remember those first weeks as President Pruitt's Republican freshman. Senior senators took us aside to advise us. They said, now be careful around the opposition. Don't tell the opposition our strategy. Don't believe what they say. Don't even be seen with the opposition. We thought they were talking about the Democrats. They meant the House of Representatives. So, to prevent any cross the Capitol tensions over the next few years, our presiding officers, President Haridopolos and Speaker Cannon, arranged a bonding experience between Representative Weatherford and me. Redistricting. They called us in, and they said the two of you will spend the summer traveling Florida together. You'll go from town to town and meet interesting people. Media, it'll be puff pieces. It'll all be over in 2 months. You'll be welcomed as liberators. Well, here's what I know about the Speaker-designate, Will Weatherford. He and I come from different generations, but we're headed in the same direction. And of course we won't always agree, but this Senate can always be sure that in Will Weatherford, the House of Representatives has found a Speaker who puts the future of Florida first and whose own future is unlimited. Mr. Speaker. Speaker-designate and I have agreed that it's going to be the substance of legislation that matters and not the form. The Speaker-designate gets it. He understands that it's not really important whether it's the House bill or the Senate bill that actually passes. And that's why I know he won't mind when it is the Senate bill. Historians say that that I will be among those Senate presidents with far less Tallahassee experience than most of my predecessors. But if my time in this process is less, consider the quality of my teachers. I learned from President Ken Pruitt. This great and good man taught us by his example what it means to truly love this Senate, to love its traditions, its men and women, including its professional staff, and to be loved in return by them. I doubt that any president ever left this floor with the storehouse of goodwill built up by Ken Pruitt. Thank you, Mr. President. And I learned from President Jeff Atwater. His ancestors governed here, as now he does. And for him, Florida is a family legacy to be cherished and preserved and protected. President Atwater taught us that the test of our decisions today is the value they add to our grandchildren's lives tomorrow. Thank you for that lesson, Mr. President. I learned from President Mike Haridopolos. He led this caucus to a supermajority, and here's what he did with it. Taxes lowered, spending cut, government capped, litigation reduced, primary care expanded, Medicaid reformed, life protected, our sovereignty affirmed, our constitutional freedoms upheld, and that is the Haridopolos legacy. And one other thing, Mr. President, under your leadership, and thanks to your partnership with Speaker Cannon and with Governor Scott, Florida is the only state in America that balanced its budget without raising taxes or fees on its citizens by one single penny. Thank you for that. Of course, I do not for a moment underrate the great difficulties that still lie ahead of us. Unemployment is the measure of our misery. Unemployment and underemployment is the root of foreclosures and business failures. It's the cause of rising Medicaid rolls and homelessness and falling resources for our schools and our hospitals. Unemployment is the ill wind that parches the souls of our families with despair. And like you, I wonder, where will the answers come from? Every now and then I get tripped up in my grammar, and in some speeches I would say, Washington is broken. And in other speeches I would say, Washington is broke. Well, it turns out both are true. Either way, the line gets applause, but it never gets results. But you know, this isn't Washington, and I'm tired of waiting for Washington. This is our state. These are our obligations, our opportunities. This is our time to fix our own future. I think of the people who stood where I'm standing now. From this very spot, some of Florida's greatest leaders shaped the future and defined what our state was to become. And each of you in this room carries with you the scars and the lessons of lives fully lived. Your experiences, painful and pleasant, guide your interests, inform your positions, and shape your values. I look back across my own life and see moments of wrenching change that brought me to my knees and altered my world. And I beg your indulgence to speak briefly about just one of those moments, not because I want to talk about myself, but because we're on a journey together, you and I, and in fairness, you should know my coordinates and my compass heading. I did grow up in that small North Dakota town that you saw in the video, and let me put it this way, despite its many charms, we never had to run double shifts to handle the spring break crowd. It was a windswept prairie town tucked up next to the Canadian border, and life was often cold and always hard. North Dakota was tough, but my old man was tougher. I remember him as just this incredibly strong, self-possessed person. He did work 3 jobs to make ends meet, but his obligation to his community was always equal to his obligation to his family. He hated bigotry, loved Barry Goldwater, sat high in the saddle, was a crack shot, and for him there was right and there was wrong. He became our mayor, honored as the best mayor in the state. He was slated to run for lieutenant governor, and he went to the nominating convention to make his speech, perhaps take his place on the ticket. I was 16 years old. I admit, I played cookie from school that day so I could watch my dad on TV. My heart swelled when I saw him give his speech. He got thunderous applause, and I saw him wade into the outstretched hands and the smiling faces. And then, on that black and white TV screen, I saw him fall and never rise again. He died at what should have been his greatest moment. On that darkest of days for me, my father laid down his 3 jobs, and I picked up 3 jobs. I sold clothes in a men's store during the day. I managed the movie theater at night. And on the weekends, I was the printer's devil. That's just a fancy name for janitor at the local newspaper. I took those jobs to help support my mom and 2 very little brothers. And I suppose to a great extent, from that day forward, my life has been spent doing the work that my dad would never finish. His death, so long ago, but still so searing for me, was one of those moments when the world tilts and it never fully corrects. But small moments of clarity have their power, too. As mentioned in the video, and it bears repeating, the small high school in my town did have a sign over the door. I passed under that sign every day. It read, "No place worse than second place." And for a long time, I sure didn't understand what that sign meant. No place worse than second place? For a high school kid in North Dakota, I can think of lots of places worse than second place. Like third place. Like South Dakota. But here's what that battered sign really means. It means that if you're in 5th or 6th or 7th place, you probably never really had a shot. And if you lost, maybe it wasn't completely your fault. But if you're in 2nd place, maybe with just a little more sweat, a few more tears, a bit more toil, you could be first. It means that if you want to be first, you need to push out the boundaries of what other people think is impossible. That sign means that odds are a barrier to overcome. They're not a barrier to entry. If you're in 2nd place, you've failed yourself, and there's nothing worse than that. It's a lesson that propelled our little school to lots of victories and lots of different sports and activities, victories that belonged really to somebody else. No place worse than 2nd place. I think we can use that truth today in this chamber and in this state. We all love Florida, and we're not alone. 75 million tourists who love Florida visited here last year. More than 18 million people live here, and more are coming, despite the hurricanes, despite Citizens Insurance, despite redistricting. Florida. Florida has the most beautiful beaches, fantastic weather, amazing cities, welcoming people, great universities, and low taxes. And so my question is not rhetorical. Who would not want to be here? The answer, sadly, is that while lots of Fortune 500 CEOs live here, most Fortune 500 companies do not want to be here. Every Fortune 100 company does not want to be here. New York, with its numbingly cold winters and oppressively massive tax structure, has 18 Fortune 100 companies. California, reduced to paying its bills with IOUs, has 13. Florida has none. None. We are the most attractive state in this country, yet we are not attracting the full range of businesses. We're not even in the first tier of states where companies settle to create thousands and thousands of high-paying jobs. At best, we're in the second tier. And there's no place worse than second place. And so the cause to which we are called today is to make Florida first. The first place to create a business idea. The first place to start a business in an incubator, even in a garage. The first place to expand a going business. The first place to relocate a business. For it is only when an entrepreneur reaches for a risk that opportunities for workers are created and that unemployment and underemployment give way to real jobs in a real economy. And so, as I was forced by fate to take 3 jobs on a grim day long ago, there are 3 jobs that I ask you to join me in accepting today in order to make Florida first. Now, you don't have to run the projector for the late movie or sweep out the newspaper shop. Our first job in the Senate and in state government and in our party is to behave in a way that reflects the goodness of the people who sent us here. Floridians are smart. They know that sprawling, expensive government has failed them. But they also understand that when we do nothing except posture and bicker, then nothing gets done. And we leave the field to the bureaucrats whose absurd rules stifle innovation and smother progress. As President Atwater reminded us in his eloquent farewell speech on this floor, never fear the debate, but let the debate be mature and constructive. Given the task before us and the talent in this room, and I mean the governor and the House and the Senate, I mean Republicans and Democrats, there is nothing to keep this legislature from being the most effective deliberative body in America. So let us begin by setting the highest ethical standards, and let us here live by the standards we set. Let there never again be a time when the people of Florida are ashamed of their political leaders. And as for the bureaucrats, we simply need to get up earlier than they do and be more relentless. If we want Florida to be first, we have to force change through the system, and that means outworking the system. As school superintendent in Okaloosa County, again and again, our team bumped up against the mindless rules and inflexible thinking that characterized a petrified education system. And to be honest, we did what we thought was right for kids, and we asked for forgiveness later. And I was never thanked by the Deputy Commissar of the Division of Chalkboards of DOE. But I was thanked by a lot of parents. By forcing against the system, Okaloosa schools became the best in Florida and a model for America. And so to attract those Fortune 500 and Fortune 100 companies, or just help mom and pop businesses on Main Street, Florida must become the cradle of common sense solutions. Companies make their location decisions based on the sanity of the regulatory environment. If Florida is to be first on the relocation list, then Florida must be the state that's known for fair play and rational regulations. Our second job, if you'll take it on, is to lash Florida's higher education system, our great universities and colleges, to the needs and the realities of our economy. This country used to be the most robust economy in the world. And now in this country, that did not create a single new job last month, not one, in the whole country. There are 3 million unfilled jobs in America, 1 million of which are in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Amidst historic unemployment in America and Florida, 1 million good jobs are unfilled because Floridians are unqualified to fill them. And meanwhile, an American company is investing $100 million to go co-venture a private university in India to prepare Indian students for the high-paying STEM jobs that American college graduates aren't qualified to fill. This governor, this man, has bet his job on 700,000 new jobs in 7 years. But 700,000 new jobs without 700,000 educated, qualified Floridians ready to compete for those jobs is just another kind of economic crisis. So if we want to know why we can't attract Fortune 100 companies, we have to take an honest look at ourselves. And we have to ask, are we producing the workforce upon which the best companies are built? We lag behind our competitor states. We lag behind the nation in producing college graduates qualified to step into jobs in science, technology, engineering, or mathematics. Our own state jobs agency tells us that in the next 10 years, 60% of the growth jobs will require science, technology, engineering, or math skills. Yet our own university system reports this month that no more than 20% of bachelor's degrees earned by our students have anything to do with these skills that the economy demands. And over the last 10 years, the number of students graduating from our universities with job-ready technology skills has fallen by 50%. Now that scoreboard will have to be turned upside down if we want to make Florida first. Last week, an expanding custom software company in Jacksonville told me they can't find Florida-grown graduates with the requisite skills. So they're creating jobs, all right, but they're bringing in people from other states to fill those jobs. That's not recovery for Florida. We brought transparency and accountability to our K-12 classrooms. We created career institutes and academies in our public high schools, and 75% of the industry-granted certifications those high school students earn are in science, technology, engineering, and math. Jeb Bush is right. Reform is never finished. Success is never final. And so now it's time to inject relevance and urgency into our universities. We no longer have the luxury of producing another generation of graduates steeped in intellectually interesting majors for which there is no job market and whose technological understanding is limited to friending people on Facebook. The market demands more. Our children deserve more, and we must do more to make Florida first. Our third job is to remake Florida in a way that sends a clear signal to the world that this place, more than any other place, is where businesses can grow and families can thrive. Did you know that in Gainesville, 50 new companies are hatching out of research incubators? And the biggest spin-off and most successful spin-off from the University of Florida is no longer Gatorade. It's a pathfinding international company in organ and tissue donation and regeneration. And at the University of Miami, students are today forming more than 100 companies now. Many of these young entrepreneurs will fail, but some will succeed. The question is, will they succeed in Florida? In an angry sea of national economic chaos, Florida can become the safe harbor. Other states have buckled under the weight of burdensome taxes and bloated government. Florida can be the free zone, the state where research, capital, and entrepreneurship converge to form the great new businesses and the high-paying jobs of the future. And so, over the coming days and weeks, I'll be knocking at your doors, asking for your ideas. I'll be asking you to sign up for the mission to make Florida first. Will you sign up? Will you sign up? like to do 3 jobs. It's hard. But I know we can do these 3 jobs together because we have to. Because there is no place worse than second place, not when there's a real chance, if we never give in, that we can make Florida first. So my fellow senators, thank you for this honor, which my father would remind me is not an entitlement, but an obligation. And I promise each of you that I will bend myself to the cause of your success. For if you succeed, then Florida will succeed. Our 3 jobs drive Florida's destiny. First, to set the national example of a better, smarter, more ethical government. Second, to lash higher education to the realities of the economy. And third, to build in Florida a safe harbor, a free zone for businesses to thrive and jobs to grow. Winston Churchill said, "What a waste to be a great man in small times." And whether we will be great or even good depends not on words, but on works, on results. But one thing is sure, these are not small times. Yes, these are hard times, but they can be great times. So let us not waste one day or 1 hour, for this is our time, with God's help, to lead the land we love. Thank you.
Singing after the first verse. The words will be on the screen above me.